Hi friends, so today we're doing 3 looks with the colored Raine Rebellious Nudes palette. So if you want to see how I created these 2 looks, then you're probably going to want to keep watching because there's one more. So yeah. Hi darlings, it's Liz and welcome back to my makeup garden. So today we're going to be creating 3 looks with the Rebellious Nudes palette. Now this palette's been out for a while, but I have it in my collection and I'm a big believer that if you have something, you should use it, right? So instead of just looking at this pretty little thing on a shelf, we're going to create 3 looks with it. If you have it in your collection, you can pull it out, you can use it. Or if you have something similar that, maybe you want to put some use in, maybe this will inspire you to use it. So the color story's here. So this is called the Rebellious Nudes palette. So basically this palette is geared at being neutral adjacent. So not traditional neutrals, something a little bit colorful, but not scary. So today we're going to create 3 looks with this color story. So if that sounds like something you want to see, then please keep on watching. Here. So I think the first look we're going to do, I think we're going to go into this shade here, which is called What Rules? Rules? What Rules? So I'm going to take that shade using my Glam Light Michaela brush, Pat 2. I'm going to go ahead and place that in my lid. So I did already prime my eyes. So I'm just going to make sure that my primer is tapped down, that there aren't any creases in it. And I'm going to go ahead and comfortably add that to my crease. So far, what I've noticed about this palette is these colors are beautiful. They're unusual. I agree that they're like really fun, like kind of neutral adjacent shades. I absolutely love that. I've used this palette maybe 6 times now. Just trying to get my thoughts on it. And you definitely want to use an eye primer. Today I primed with the Beauty Crops Stuck On You. So that's what I'm using. But you definitely want a primer for this formula. If you don't, these eyeshadows are like Cinderella. And after 6 hours, they will disappear. And it's almost exactly 6 hours. It doesn't matter which look I've created so far. 6 hours is the wear time for this formula on my eyes. Now I have really like no fuss eyes. You know what I mean? Like I don't have overly oily lids or overly dry lids. I do live in a hot and humid climate, but even with primer, like the most is 8 hours. So just something to keep in mind. If you're like the makeup person who needs it to last all day without fail, I don't think this formula is going to be for you. Just a thought, okay? So I'm using my color switch and I'm just taking off the excess. Okay, so we're going to take the same brush. I just took the excess product off. We're just going to buff out that edge just a little bit before we add a little bit lighter of a color just to kind of ease things out. So we're going to go into the shade right here. I do what I want. Whatever. I do what I want. Thank you, South Park, for ruining that for us for always. Okay. I'm just tapping off the excess and I'm just going to like lightly add product here. I went a little heavy initially. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this in and then I'm going to use a clean brush to kind of clean up the edges. All will make sense here soon. Okay, so we're going to go in with the clean brush. So I have just a little bit too much on my eyes for what I want. Clean brush and really just kind of buff that in. Because I went just a little ham today. Okay, so using I'm going to go into the shade here, which is Grown Up Tings. And I'm going to place that all over my lid. And the point is to create a gradient. So we're creating a gradient. And I'm just going to very lightly, I'm concentrating that color on my lid. And then I'm just going to use that same brush, and I'm just gonna buff that a little bit because I really want the majority of that color to be here on the lid. Okay, I have a patchy spot there, so let me correct that. And I'm really just packing that color right here on my lids. Don't mind the jackass in my neighborhood who's driving around with too little in his pants and too much in his engine. I said what I said. Okay. So I will be, actually, no, you know what? All right, so I think that's probably good enough. All right, so next we're gonna take this Beauty Blender brush right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and go into the shade right here, this gorgeous, it's called Big Boss Energy. So we're gonna go into the shade here. I am going to spray this because it does perform better wet. Most shadows do, but in particular, this one definitely performs better wet. So I'm just spraying my beauty. This is by Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and it's a B2 brush. I'm just gonna apply that here, right here in the inner corner, just for a blinding inner corner moment. Doing the same thing for the other side. Like I said, this shade just performs so much better when it is wet. Don't we all? All right, so I will be right back with liner and lashes and with the final look. All right, darlings, here is the finished look using the Colored Raine Rebellious Nudes palette. So what I did is I finished off my look with the L'Oreal Lash Paradise mascara. I also used the ColourPop Creme gel liner in the shade Joyride. So pretty on the waterline. And then I also used some black eyeliner just to do my tightline up there. But yeah, that's it. We're gonna leave the water, like the underside, nice and light because I do have hooded eyes and I don't want my eyes to look too small. So if I do any color on the underside, it's actually gonna close my eyes off a little bit. So I really like how this comes out. I think this is a beautiful way to wear like a really nice kind of orangey nude. But yeah, all right, on to the next look. And by the way, you can always clean up the sides if you don't like, you know, because my side's a little messy right there. You can actually just take a clean brush, just a little Liz tip here. Take a little bit of that shade there, call it Act Up, and you can actually just run it just to clean it up. See, it cleans up really nicely that way. All along that line right there, see? Which is what I've been using that shade for the most because it's really close to my skin color. So it's kind of perfect for that. But anyway, all right, on to the next look. So for the first look, we're gonna go ahead and I think I wanna do a smoky eye with a really vibrant. I'm thinking maybe using Big Boss Energy right here. So I'm thinking maybe Big Boss Energy right here all over the lid. And maybe we'll do something kind of like this in the inner corner. So let's see, I did already prime my eyes. I used the Beauty Crop Stuck On You primer. I will be using this for the entire video. So yeah, if you see my eyelids are like kind of white, that's why. Let's go in. Do I want to start with the black? I think I actually want to start with the orange. So we're going to start with that. And I think I'm going to use this fluffy one by BK Beauty. Like I said, I already primed my eyes. So I went ahead and just did it off camera, but tap out any creases just so that you don't encourage your shadow to do that, because if you're like me, you do. So I'm going to go into the shade, I think, Temper Tantrum here, and I'm just going to put that in my crease. So this palette, I stalked it for a long time, and I know some of you can relate to that because some of us, we see something and instead of buying it right away, sometimes we stalk it a little bit if we're not sure, and that was me. And then it went on sale in the shop app. So it went on sale for like half off. And I was like, okay. I'm not mad at it for being half off. So I really like this as a transition color. I think it's a really pretty transition. It's called Temper Tantrum, and it's kind of yellow, but it definitely has orangey undertones, but it is like a warmer kind of a yellow. I can't say this is like a mid-century modern, like yellow, mustardy kind of yellow. It's a little bit lighter than that, I think, but I do like it as a transition. So now we are going to do a smoky eye. How do I want to go about this? Do I want to do heavy black? Let's do a little bit of this brown color here. That's called Big Girls Don't Cry. But listen, we don't do emotional stifling here. So if you need to cry, cry. You have permission. It's okay. Not that you need it, but you have it if you do need it. Okay, well, I'm going to place that here. And I think I'm going to work this into my crease. I am using this BK Beauty brush. This one's a 202. I do like these BK Beauty, especially this one has enough of a taper. I can really get it in my crease without kind of touching the areas, like the surrounding areas. So I think we're going to do that. Just kind of buff that in a little bit, just to kind of soften where I put the black. Because, you know, I don't want to look like I have like mascara on from like 3 days ago. But like really that's the dream, isn't it? In a smoky eye. But I'm just going to pack that on and then we'll begin darkening. And I am going to sweep it out just a little bit. I'm doing small circles with like the lightest pressure. So, okay. Love that, love that. I am doing this into my camera, so, okay. Love that. Okay, and I'm just gonna sweep that out just a little bit. And then I am also gonna take the little bit that's extra on my brush, and I'm just gonna sweep that on my under eye. Nothing like too crazy. I'm not wearing any other makeup. This is just my face. And I do have my ring light on, so the lighting is very flattering on my skin. There's, you know, there is texture. There are wrinkles. But I'm just sweeping this under my eye and bringing it all the way over. And then here. Now, if you wanted to do like a soft smoky, like for daytime, I think as is, that might actually be really pretty. You know what I mean? Like that level of depth would be really nice for daytime. But I do want to deepen this up just a little bit. So I think using the same brush, because this has enough of a taper, I'm gonna go into, and hopefully we don't screw this up, but it's fine. We're gonna go into this one here that's called Who Gon' Check Me? Who Gon' Check Me? So I'm just gonna put a little of that on my brush. Hopefully not too much. I think this is really pretty as is. But I'm just gonna go in here and we're just gonna start building up that black just a little bit. Hopefully we do okay. It does seem like it's not the easiest thing to blend. You know what I mean? But just want to smoke that out just a little bit here. And here, smoke this over. We're going for that smoky kind of, you know, effect. Ooh, I think that looks really pretty in camera. It's always hard to tell how something's gonna look, like translate on camera. But we're just gonna start building up that black just a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a smoky eye, okay? But I like the shape that we've created. I think that's pretty. Just gonna brush a little bit of this into my crease and then also drag this down because I do have creases in my eyes here. That's just my eye shape. It is what it is. So I wanna make sure that I'm getting a little bit of that in that crease so that it doesn't look like it's a goddamn Greek tragedy later. All right. I like this. I think it's very pretty. Especially that gradient. I'm digging this. Now, I'm just tapping off the excess off my brush. I'm gonna go back into Big Girls Don't Cry, which is that like warm medium brown color. I'm just gonna drag this into my crease just a little bit for some dimension, kind of across the upper part of my lid there. See where that crease is? I'm just gonna tap that a little bit over there, just for a little bit of added dimension, because I don't want it to be too messy. And then taking that same brush that I used in the beginning with that like lighter yellow color, I'm literally just gonna buff that out, just the tiniest amount. Very light pressure, okay? And just make sure I have a little bit of that yellow color down here. Okay, I'm loving that. I am just gonna blend this a little bit up on my brow bone, just a little bit higher, because see how I have this like protruding hood right here? So it's a protruding lid. I'm literally just gonna buff up that brown a little bit, that smoky a little bit with that fluffier brush. So, okay, I'm loving that. Very pretty. So we're gonna go in with our NYX Glitter Primer here, because I wanna give the sparkle shades definitely something to hang on to. I'm just gonna put a little bit of that on the back of my hand, and then I am gonna use a brush to apply that. Let's use this little baddie here. This is by Arttitude Cosmetics, and I'm just gonna use that to put the glitter primer on my eye. NYX Glitter Glue is like my go-to glitter glue. It's the one I used most often. So, okay. All right, so we're gonna go in with a similar type brush. It's gonna be, you know, like a packing brush. This one I think is by Lois Cosmetics. It's like that kind of a flat brush. And we're gonna go into the shade here. This one is called Big Boss Energy. See that like reflect? I think that's gonna be really pretty with this. And this glue is tacky enough, I think, so. All right, I think this shade would be good if you sprayed your brush first and like wet your brush, but okay. Yes, that's really pretty. And I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna build that shade up right here. Making sure I carry that all the way over to the smoky part of the lid here. Very pretty. That is so pretty, love that. The green in that shade really comes through. Love that, okay. So, I think that's on well enough. Just make sure I didn't miss any areas here. I always feel like I miss along the upper lash line. If I'm not planning to use like a liner, then it's different. You know what I mean? Like I have to make sure I get it there. So, all right, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go off camera and I'm gonna go ahead and finish with like lashes and liner, and then I will be right back. All right, darling, so here's the completed look. What do you think? And it's pretty, right? I like it. So I went ahead and finished this look with a little bit of Misunderstood right here on the inner corner highlight because it needed a little pop of something. And then the lash is by Arttitude Cosmetics. And then on my waterline, I just have a brown eyeliner. This one happens to be by ColourPop, but if you have a brown eyeliner, use it. So that is the completed look. So this eye, again, already primed. And I'll just tap out, make sure there's no creases on there. Same primer by the Beauty Crop. And then I think for this one, I kind of want to do like, I kind of want to do a halo eye. So let's do that. So I'm going to go into, let's go into I do what I want. Whatever, whatever. I do what I want. If you know, you know. All right, so I'm going to use that same fluffy BK Beauty brush. So I went ahead and just wiped off the excess with my color switch. And so we're going to apply that here into the crease. This is a little bit deeper like it's a little bit lighter than Temper Tantrum, which is that yellowy one. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to place this here like so. And just kind of create that halo shape. I am placing this all the way into my inner corner here. And then bringing it around. Because we're going to build that color. We're going to build, I should say, the colors up. But I'm breaking this into my transition. All right, let's see. I do what I want. Okay. All right. Very pretty. And I am also just kind of stippling and sweeping. Remember, like the closer you are on your brush handle means more control, and then the further out means less. And in my experience, it also means pressure. So the closer up I am, the more pressure I want. The further out I am, the less pressure I want. All right. So I'm gonna dip into, just to like go ahead and pre-blend that out, I'm gonna go into the shade here called Act Up. It's the lightest matte shade in the palette. And honestly, I wish there was just one matte shade that was a little bit lighter because I feel like this palette would have really benefited from that. So I'm just gonna blend that to my transition just to kind of buff out that edge a little bit because we don't want any harsh edges. Okay. So I'm gonna go into a little bit smaller of a blending brush. This one's by Glamlight. And I'm gonna go into this shade here. And I'm gonna go ahead and start applying that on my outer and inner crease. Okay. Oh, I'm going into Growing Up Tings. Growing Up Tings. Okay. Just gonna go ahead. I have just a little bit on my brush, not anything too crazy. And I'm just gonna start building that and then bringing that into my crease. You don't have to connect it in your crease if you don't want to. I am just gonna do that because that's what I wanna do for this look. But it's just really pretty, like brown, maroon kind of. I actually really like this color. I would use this color even with other palettes because it really is just a really pretty, I like nudes like this. You know, they're like neutral adjacent, and so I'm just building that color up just a little bit. And then I'm gonna bring that over and stipple this into the inner corner as well, just to kind of start building that halo shape. And I'm keeping like a downward kind of like where the brush is angled up so that I can get like not overwhelm my transition with it. Okay. All right. So I will say this shade is messy in the pan. It's not as messy like on the eye. I don't have like a bunch of fallout or anything like that, but it's a little bit messy in it. So I feel like in the pan, like it's actually messy in the pan, but not on the eye. So I don't think it matters that much, but it is something that I just want to note in case that bothers you. I don't really care, but I mean, it doesn't bother me, but if it bothers you, there you go. Okay. So we've built that shade up pretty well. I kind of want to leave this like this. I don't necessarily feel like I need to deepen it anymore, but you know, for shits and giggles, let's go ahead and grab a BK Beauty brush. This one is the B1, And I'm going to go ahead and take just a little bit of this one here that says, I'm speaking. And we're going to go ahead and like create more contrast in the inner and outer corners. So let's start here in the inner corner. Just going to add a little bit of that. All right. I will say it does take a little bit more effort to get this shade on the brush. It's like a little bit more firmly packed, at least in my palette. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to build it up on the furthest outer corner. We do not need to connect this shade, so I'm not going to. And don't be afraid if you happen to overextend, you can always blend it out just a little bit, you know? So, really just creating dimension with that shade now. And if you notice, I'm not bringing this all the way to the center because I don't want that dimension in the center. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and place a little bit of the NYX Glitter Primer on the back of my hand. We're gonna actually place it on the center of the lid. And we're gonna pack on, I haven't decided what shade yet. I kind of wanna, let's see, first things first. So let's take that. Oh, is that the right brush? That is not the right brush. Okay, that is the right brush. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of that NYX Glitter Primer, place that in the center of the eye here. And just pat it down just a little bit. You don't necessarily have to cover the whole lid, but it can't hurt. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the shade Rebel with Applause here. We're gonna place this shade on the inner corner or on the center of the lid, and maybe we'll highlight the inner, like top of the lid with that as well. So this is an Arttitude Cosmetics packing brush, and I'm going into Rebel with Applause. Oh, baby, baby. La, 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 la. Beautiful. Love this journey for us so much. I do like to take this all the way up to the crease and then just a little above, just because I do have this big crease here, these hoods. And I do want to make sure that it is visible when my eyes are open. So I just take it just a little bit up higher, a little bit up higher. And then I'm not going to add anything additional to the brush. I'm just going to kind of diffuse that shade into the inner and outer corners. Like so. Not adding anything extra. Just tapping a little bit onto the inner and outer corner. Very pretty. And then if you feel like your shimmer's a little bit too intense on one side or another, you can just take the same brush that you were already using. Say, for instance, this is the one I was using. Is that the one? No? Yes? Maybe? I don't know. I don't remember which brush I was using. Oh, well, this is the one we're going to use. You can take the brush you were using and you can just use whatever's left over on the brush, and you can just kind of pat that back in and just kind of diffuse out where you want to diffuse out. Like up here in the edges or on the sides, and just keep that center there vibrant. That is, I like that. So it's pretty well diffused out there. I am going to take a little bit, I think, of this shade here, Misunderstood. And we're just going to place the tiniest bit of that right here in the center of the lid. And I'm going to use my finger for that. So let's see how this does in the center of the lid. Just to create, oh yeah, a little moment, you know? Just a littlest vibrancy. Wow, pretty. Okay, we like that. So on the underside of the eye, I think I'm just going to take a little bit of the shade I Do What I Want right here. And I'm going to run that along my lower lash line with just kind of a flatter brush. Okay. I don't necessarily need it to mirror the halo on the top, but I just kind of want a little pop of color under there. Nothing too crazy. I'm not going anywhere. I don't care if my eyeshadow looks are different. All right, darling, so I'm going to go ahead and finish with liner and lashes, and then we'll be back, and you can tell me which one's your favorite. All right, darling, so this is the final look. So I used the same pair of Arttitude lashes, like it's just the pair. I also used this Makeup Geek Nude eyeliner in my waterline and the L'Oreal Lash Paradise on my lower lashes just to blend my lashes in. But this is the final look. What do you think? I also used a little bit in the inner corner of this shade here, Act Up, just for a little bit of highlighter. It's not even just a highlighter. It's not quite light enough for that. But I wanted to just give a little pop of something. So anyway, this is the third look. So which look is your favorite? Look number 1, look number 2, or look number 3? Tell me in the comments below. I do have some final thoughts on this palette. I'm going to turn this into a review, and here's why. So I've used this palette maybe 10 times. No, maybe 10 times now at the time of, finishing filming and all that. So I think that if you want like a warm, neutral eyeshadow look, then this is great. I wish it had a little bit lighter of a matte, or maybe because this is more of a topper shade, or a little bit lighter of a shimmer just in a topper shade. But I think you get a good balance of light to dark. It is not a long-lasting formula. In my experience, the most that you can get out of this formula is like 8-9 hours before it starts to fade and to disappear. So if you're somebody who wears your makeup all day long, I don't know if this palette's going to be the right one, but with the right primer, you can definitely extend it. So just, keep it that way. I mean, words are hard. With the right primer, you can extend the life of your eyeshadow for sure. And, I'm not sure what setting mist would do with that. I just never set my eyes, like my eyeshadow with setting mist, rarely. So that might be something that extends it as well. I will say, this shade and this shade, these shades will crease on your lid after, I don't know, I'd say like a couple of hours. So I did have creasing with both of these shades. So just something to keep in mind. They're really pretty shades. I do not apply my shades heavily. I like to do like kind of sheer layers of color. So I'm not sure if building up the colors on your lid will change that, or, extend the life, limit creasing. I can't tell you that. All I can tell you is that when I apply it, it does crease. So just, thoughts. I do have creases. My eyes crease naturally, so I expect a little bit of that, but I just figured I would share that with you. But yeah, I'm really happy I bought this. If you see this on sale, I think it's worth it. I've created some beautiful looks with it. I really like it. I wish the formula was just a little bit different. Not my favorite formula ever, but it's not a bad formula. But yeah, so tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you own the Rebellious Nudes by Colored Raine? And if so, like, what kind of looks do you like to make with it? I'm always curious to hear from you guys. And I love your faces. Thank you for being here and for subscribing and liking and all of that YouTube jazz. It's cool. Shower me with affection. I love it. Anyway, I love your faces. I will catch you in the next one. And if you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. If you have palette suggestions below, leave them in the comments, because I'll go through my collection. If I have it, I'll make a video on it. That's cool. And have a fabulous day, whatever you're doing. Make good choices or bad ones. But I didn't tell you to do that. Okay, bye.